Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Today, the game is different.
I want to gamble. Gambling is a very serious business. Is that clear?
Welcome to House of Cards. Dave Weishaupt with you here, deep from the swamps of Jersey. We got a great show coming up for you. One thing we've learned over the last couple of years is that the sports betting industry is always interesting. Who would have thought that the first state to legalize sports betting in 2022 would be Maine? In California, voters are going to decide in November if sports betting will become legal in their state. And hey, even Vermont just drafted a bill for sports betting. On this week's show, we are going to talk with a great reporter who covers some of the most interesting sports betting stories from around the country. Coming up, I'm talking with Jill Dorson from SportsHandle, US Bets.com, and Better Collective. So stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards.
Yeah, you, come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here.
Use offer code SPICE404.
They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Your Majesty, the royal wrestlers await.
I'll bet on the little guy. How much? 3,000 guineas, 2 geese, and a duck. That's a foul bet.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishaupt with you. Interesting things are happening in the sports betting industry across this country. Maine became the first state in 2022 to legalize sports betting. Vermont has some interesting proposed legislation, and California is getting closer to legalize sports betting. And by the way, everything I know about Maine, Vermont, and California, I learned from Jill Dorson, who is a great writer from SportsHandle.com and Better Collective. And Jill Dorson happens to be on the line with us right now. Jill, thanks for coming on.
Sure, happy to be here.
First off, welcome to the show. I've really enjoyed your writing for a long time, and I'm glad we get a chance to talk with you on the show. I mean, you've written about sports for over 30 years. You've covered the Raiders in 2003 when they went to the Super Bowl, and now you're covering the sports betting industry. I want to ask you, when you were covering sports 5, 10, 15 years ago, did you ever think that the sports betting industry would become what it is now? I mean, did you ever think that the professional leagues would ever accept sports betting?
Well, to be honest, I never really gave it a lot of thought. But no, I mean, it's been interesting, obviously, the major turnaround from all of the sports leagues, particularly the NFL and, most recently the NCAA, embracing sports betting and recognizing that, maybe they don't recognize that there's a benefit in terms of integrity, but recognizing that there's money to be made and a safe way to do it. And so partnering with the people who know what they're doing is a good way to go.
Now, one of the big stories in sports betting that you've been doing a great job covering on SportsHandle.com is what's going on in California. I'm here on the East Coast, and for the last year, we've been obsessed with sports betting in New York. I mean, first, when will New York launch sports betting? How it's going to affect the other states? And now we're all marveling at the crazy numbers and figures coming out of that market. And in the meantime, a giant state out west was inching closer to allowing sports betting. How did the sports betting debate in California start? Was there some lawmaker who introduced the bill? Did the sports books make a big push to get that issue front and center? How did the sports betting ball in California start rolling?
California has a lot of different factions. It's a very different situation than most other states. There are 60 tribes that offer gaming here in California, and they have the exclusive right under the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act to offer casino gaming. And so, yeah, there have been bills in the state legislature. They've been essentially killed by the tribes because the tribes want to have control of what sports betting will look like here, when it's coming, whether it will be digital or retail. And so the point that we're at now is that there's one initiative that's qualified for the ballot, and that's been put forth by a group of tribes. It's for retail-only sports betting. So you could wager at Indian casinos and 4 racetracks here. And there's a second initiative that's been put forth by a group of 7 operators, led by BetMGM, DraftKings, and FanDuel, that is in the signature verification process. So that means they've collected all the signatures they need to get their initiative on the ballot, and they're just waiting for the Secretary of State to say, yep, you have enough that are good enough and you're on. So it's we've been heading to this point for more than a year, actually, and it's setting up a big fight because everybody in the state is taking sides, whether or not they're going to support the commercial operators or whether or not they're going to support the tribes.
So just to be clear, how many different proposals will California have on their ballot as we talk right now? And is there a chance that there could be even more proposals as time goes on?
Yeah, so originally there were 4 put out there. There will be 2 on the ballot and potentially a third one in 2024, depending what happens this year. So one proposal put forth by the card rooms here failed to collect enough signatures by their deadline, and a proposal by a, second group of tribes for digital and retail sports betting announced just this week that they were going to pull back and not look at the 2022 ballot, but go for the 2024 ballot. And I think that that's on the assumption that with 2 initiatives on this ballot this year, that neither one will pass, which is a real possibility.
I have a question about that. The fact that there are more than one proposal, does that concern anyone? I mean, is there fear of...
It concerns everyone.
Okay, is there's some concern that like the voters will be confused or not knowing what they're voting for? Is that why that one was pulled back with regard to the Native American tribes?
So I couldn't say exactly why they decided to pull back. I mean, in theory, yes, the idea is that they think that nothing will pass this year. And so they're just positioning themselves for 2024. But yeah, it's a huge concern. Political consultants will tell you that if you have multiple initiatives on the same issue, that it's really hard to get voters to understand, which one to vote for or which one is quote unquote better. So they either, they don't vote at all, I guess, on those. And here, it's a fine line. The tribes have a retail initiative, limiting just to in-person betting, and the commercial operators have an initiative that's simply for digital. So if you're lobbying against each other, it's hard, I think, to make people understand the difference between retail and digital because the average person, doesn't know, doesn't care. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And, if both of them go all the way till November. I'm told that by June 30th, you can withdraw an initiative. So, I'm watching closely and listening around to see if one side is going to pull their initiative and leave only one on the ballot, meaning that both sides, the person who's still on the ballot or the group that's still on the ballot can put all of their money into getting approval, and the people who have pulled their initiative can put all of their money into opposing it.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side.
Drizzly makes it easy to shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and liquor from wherever I am. I just open the app, find what I want, and it's at my door in under 60 minutes.
Drizzly. Ding dong, Drizzly.
You're listening to House of Cards.
I'm talking sick piles of money. I'm talking lay on your bed in your Vegas room, throw the money in the air, and dance as it showers down on you money. I'm talking frosted glass limo money. I'm talking big cowboy hat, silver turquoise buckle money. I'm talking gambling.
I am in love with you.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishaupt with you. House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Jill Dorson from SportsHandle, US Bets.com, and Better Collective. Now, you mentioned the card rooms in California. What's going on with that situation, and what is the card rooms issue with regard to sports betting in California?
Well, so there's long been a lot of animosity between the card rooms and the tribes. And I would not pretend to know what all of it is, but the net result is that the tribes believe that they have exclusivity to gaming in California under IGRA and under their compacts and state law. And the card rooms, continue to offer card games. Mm-hmm. And the tribes view that as an infringement on their exclusivity. And there have been multiple lawsuits over time with regard to all of this. And so there's a lot of animosity. Those two groups are never going to be on the same side of the issue.
Yeah, I'm curious. Has there been any polling or there has been any forecasting with regard to how likely these measures will be received by the California voters? Are lawmakers and sportsbook operators thinking that these measures will pass, or one or more of these measures will pass?
So I guess a two-part answer. One, both of these measures could pass.
Okay.
The operator's measure is strictly digital, and the tribal one is strictly retail. So they are considered on the ballot complementary to each other. The tribes wouldn't want both of them to pass. The operators probably don't care if both of them pass. So I guess that's kind of the starting point. And I apologize because I forgot the question.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see how likely people in California think these will pass. I mean,
the polling.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of polling, but I'm going to be honest, and I actually said this to somebody the other day. I'm sort of done with it from both the operator side and the tribal side, because they send out press releases, once a week or every other week with, new polling numbers and saying what people are in support of and what they're not in support of. But neither side wants to reveal the raw data or exactly what the question was. So, the latest thing is that on the tribal side, they say that 53% of people that they poll do not support digital gaming. And on the operator side, they say that 59% do support digital gaming. But just to be clear, the initiative that was put out there by BetMGM, DraftKings, and FanDuel is tied to solving California's homelessness problem, and would bring hundreds of millions of dollars into the state. And so from a political standpoint, they're running their referendum on the homeless issue, and sports betting is almost an afterthought in terms of advertising and things like that.
Well, you mentioned advertising, and the one thing I've read in your articles on SportsHandle.com is that there's a lot of advertising money being spent on this issue in California. Give us an idea of who is spending the advertising money in the state, and how effective are those ads in the state?
Sure. I mean, what I can tell you now, and I live in San Diego County, is that I've been seeing ads put out by different tribal groups that essentially say to California's voters, we've been running gaming in this state for 30 years, and you trust us, and we'll take care of you. And let's all make an effort to keep out-of-state operators out of state,
Okay.
or to not give them control of gaming here, or sports betting. Sorry, not gaming. So I've seen several of those ads. On the other side of things, the operators haven't really ramped up their television ads yet. They're, I'm sure, still waiting to make sure 100% that they're on the ballot. But both sides have committed hundreds of millions of dollars toward their advertising campaign, and they'll take advantage of everything from television to social media to billboards. I saw an LA Times ad that I can't honestly remember which side it was for, but I was just interested that I saw it. So there's a lot out there. And, you know, what the messaging says in the end is going to be really critical in terms of getting voters to understand, you know, not necessarily what the issues are, but where to fall or where they want you to fall on the issue.
Well, if these proposals are given a yes vote by the voters of California, what are the next steps the state has to go through in order to launch sports betting? Are there still issues with regard to tribes that need to be worked out prior to the launch of sports betting?
So, having never been through this process this closely before, I can tell you what I understand is it will happen, and hopefully I'm right. But in California, when you have a ballot initiative, you actually write the law.
Oh, okay.
So unlike a state like Louisiana or Maryland, or I guess more Louisiana, where they had to then go back through the state legislature, you know, the referendum there was, do we want to have sports betting, yes or no? And then the legislature determined what that would look like. Here in California, it's not that way. So these initiatives are, you know, 60, 70, 100 pages long. They spell out all of the rules from, you know, taxes to what you can bet on, to whether or not you're tethered to a tribal casino, et cetera, et cetera. So my understanding is that if the tribal initiative passes, the retail only, they could move pretty quickly because they're regulated by a tribal council versus by the state. The state would have some say in that. But the tribes, I believe, could probably go live with in-person sports betting within a few months.
Wow, really?
On the operator's side, they'll be regulated by the state. So the state obviously has to work through all of the regulations and do a launch, and that tends to take longer. But I'll be perfectly upfront and tell you that I'm not 100% sure what that process will be, but I just think it'll take longer if it's on the operator side.
So, yeah, I was curious. I mean, if everything's approved, has anyone given a time frame when sports betting could start in California? Did they say, you know, maybe next year, maybe 2 years? Or...
No, it'll be shorter than that.
Okay.
And I was going to say I should correct myself. Well, I think that the tribes could offer wagering really quickly. I believe that in their initiative, the start date is September 2023. But, I mean, still not so long. You know, it'll be 10 months after the initiative passes. And the operators one, I don't have it handy, but it's also sometime in 2023. So, you know, if one or both of those passes, people should be betting by the 2023 football season.
I did some calculations. In terms of pro teams, California has 3 hockey teams, 5 baseball teams, 3 football teams, 4 basketball teams, and I'm not even counting the huge number of college teams the state have. Everyone in the past said once New York got mobile sports betting, that's a game changer for the sports betting industry. I got to tell you, if California gets sports betting, I think it would dwarf New York's numbers. I mean, in your opinion, is the real game changer for the sports betting industry is when California gets sports betting?
You know, it's interesting, right? I live here, so I have a little bit of a different perspective, I think, than people who don't live here. And I grew up in New England as a Red Sox fan.
Oh, okay.
You know, I understand the northeastern market in New York maybe a little bit better than people who haven't been there, having worked in that area too. California's got 40 million people. I think it's a game changer, for the operators in terms of potential revenue. I can tell you from living in on both sides of the country that the passion for sports here is not the same as it is in the Northeast. And so while you have a larger group of people to cull from, I'm not sure that you have the rabid fan base that you have in, New York or Boston or Philadelphia. So it's definitely a game changer. I mean, the operators are willing to spend $200 million to get this on the ballot. So that tells you something. And that's significantly more, I'm sad to say, about what they spent in Florida trying to get an initiative on that failed. And so Florida's half as many people again as here. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a game changer in some ways, but it's a unique situation because it's the tribes will have a hand in sports betting here, and they don't in New York so much. I mean, there's a small group, but they're not nearly as powerful as the tribes here.
Stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards. Hey, this is Dave Weishuttle from House of Cards with your House of Cards gaming report for the week of May 23rd, 2022. According to the American Gaming Association, the nation's commercial gaming industry set a new revenue record for the first quarter of a year. In the quarter, the commercial gaming industry reported $14.31 billion in revenue, an increase of almost 29% from the first quarter of 2021, with all 32 commercial gaming jurisdictions reporting increases from the year before. iGaming and sports betting also set quarterly records, with iGaming taking in $1.2 billion and sports betting reporting $1.5 billion. No sooner does Kansas pass their sports betting law, they get sued. The Kansas Star Casino is alleging that the state is breaking its contract with them by allowing historic horse racing machines at Wichita's Greyhound Park. The casino claims that the agreement with the Lottery Commission prohibits any competition in the Wichita area, and the machines at the dog track violate that agreement. Boyd Gaming, which owns the Kansas Star Casino, is asking for $25 million in damages. And finally, following their ribbon cutting at the Rock and Brews restaurant in the Potawatomi Hotel and Casino in Wisconsin, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons of the rock band Kiss participated via Zoom in the ribbon cutting of the Rock and Brews Casino in the town of Bremen, Oklahoma. It looks like one of the coolest casinos in the country is now in Oklahoma. Have any news or tips regarding casinos, gaming, or legislation? Send us an email at newsroom@houseofcardsradio.com and follow us on Twitter at HOC Radio.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Whoa! I think we got a show.
Oh, yeah, we got a show.
We definitely got a show.
Oh, yeah, there's a show. Hey, it's all about ratings, baby, and we got them.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Jill Dorson from SportsHandle, US Bets.com, and Better Collective. Well, let me switch gears to an East Coast state, which took me by complete surprise, and that's Maine. I mean, even though even though I'm in New Jersey, I have an office in Massachusetts, and I found out that Maine passed sports betting while sitting in my office in Massachusetts reading SportsHandle and your article, and not from any news outlet in Massachusetts, which was kind of strange. Now, a lot of people I've talked to in sports betting industry were kind of surprised that Maine legalized sports betting. But should they have been surprised, and were all the signs pointing to the fact that Maine was going to allow sports betting?
So I would say that I'm not surprised at all that Maine legalized this year. I am surprised at how they legalized.
Okay.
And it's a fine point to make. In 2019, the state legislature there passed what at the time would have been considered one of the most open competitive marketplace bills in the country. You would have been able to have digital platforms that didn't have to be tethered to anything. There was no cap on the number of operators that could be in the state. And the tax rate, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was pretty favorable, so probably 10% or less. The governor there in 2020, just ahead of the pandemic, vetoed that bill, and the legislature couldn't get enough votes to override the veto. So it's been coming for a long time, but there's been a fight there. The governor of Maine is not a big proponent of gambling. There are a handful of casinos there, brick and mortar casinos, that would prefer to have a situation where, they're kind of in control by having operators tethered to them. Anyway, long story short, the legislature came back this year, which was the soonest that they could under their rules, and they passed a similar bill to the one that they had passed in 2019, last summer, 2021. Mm-hmm. The only difference was that it had to be tethered. You had to be tethered to a casino.
Okay.
The guy who was carrying the bill quit and went to go work for a state agency, a federal agency, though I can't remember what one. And the bill sort of languished and has been sitting on what's called the appropriations table in Maine since last July. And then out of nowhere, a couple of months ago, the governor decided that sports betting was going to become a political football that she could use to mollify the tribes there who do not have the same kind of tribal sovereignty that tribes in other states have.
Okay.
So rather than giving them their sovereignty or granting them their sovereignty, she offered them the opportunity to have sports betting. And that bill passed, and I remember the first time I saw it, I called a couple of operator sources, and I was like, what the hell is this? And they were like, we don't know. And they didn't know. And that bill got pushed through by the governor and is now law. So in Maine, there will be 4 platforms, one each tethered to the 4 federally recognized tribes. Unfortunately, the tribes there don't have any experience in gaming, so it's going to be kind of an interesting experience. And then the 2 casinos there, owned by Churchill Downs and Penn National Gaming, have essentially, I've been saying they've been shut out of digital gaming, which is not 100% true. They actually could partner with a tribe.
Okay.
There's nothing that says they can't, but they won't be able to run it themselves. So they can't get licensed for digital gaming. So they can't have, for example, the Penn National Casino can't have its own Barstool platform, but it could partner with a tribe and then have a Barstool platform. So, yeah, it was not surprising that it passed. It was the how and what it now looks like.
So all in all, how many licenses are we talking about, and who's going to have these licenses? I mean,
in Maine?
Yeah,
4.
in Maine. 4?
4.
Okay.
Yeah. And the licensed entity will be each of the 4 tribes there.
Okay.
And then the Penn National and Churchill Downs will each get a license for retail gaming or retail sports betting, so they can obviously offer in their casinos in-person betting. And then some OTBs will also be able to offer in-person betting.
So what is the next steps for Maine in order to launch sports betting? I mean, are they formulating rules now, or are they in the licensing phase?
No.
What are they doing right now?
I actually talked to the person, Milt Champion, who runs the gambling control unit there, and they're tasked with regulation, and it's going to be a while, probably a year to 18 months, and part of that is just the administrative process in Maine. It's not unusual. Ohio has had a similarly long process, but their law included a firm start date, so they'll be done in a year. But it's, there's a lot of hoops to jump through on the administrative and legislative side. So the law in Maine does not become effective until 90 days after the governor signed it. So that's on or about August 2nd. Between now and then, the Gambling Control Unit is starting to develop draft regulations. And Milt said that in a perfect world, he'd be able to present those to stakeholders for review on August 2nd. But, it takes a long time. There's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross, and everyone seems to think that once somebody's legalized, they can launch tomorrow. And, while the biggest operators probably have the ability to do that, there's so much other stuff that has to happen that, even if Milt were able to get the regs out on August 2nd for review, there's then public comment period, and he's going to hold a hearing, blah, blah, blah. And then once all of that's done, in Maine, there's 2 government entities that have to sign off. I think it's the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State. And, they could take a couple of months to sign off before they do anything. So once that's all done, which probably takes us at least to the end of the year,
Okay.
they can open the application process. And I'd say the average for an application process is 90 days.
Okay.
There's a lot to do when somebody applies for a sports betting license in terms of, you know, verifying backgrounds and financials and stuff like that. And the regulators really have no control on how long some of that takes because they're dealing with agencies from other governments or other states or the federal government. And, you know, if the FBI doesn't want to give you a background check in a week, then they take 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it all takes a while.
So in terms of Maine, I mean, realistically, earliest, I would guess, end of 2023, probably into 2024. That's when people from Maine can expect to start placing bets?
So Milt was hoping spring of 2023 in the best case scenario.
Okay.
And so he's saying anytime between spring of 2023 and January 1st, 24.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So, you know, I think he's trying to what's the phrase? Under promise and over deliver.
Right. If Maine took me by surprise, there's another New England state that just blew me away when I found out about this, and that is Vermont. Give us the latest of what's coming out of Vermont. In terms of sports betting, what are they talking about in Vermont?
Yeah, it's a pretty short answer.
Yep.
Somebody filed a bill in April. It's not, from the industry perspective, a great bill, but the session's going to close, I think, in a week or 2 weeks, and the bill hasn't actually been filed. At least it wasn't earlier this week. So it's highly unlikely that Vermont's going to pass sports betting. They've been a little bit sort of mucking around with it the last couple of years, looking at study bills. You know, let's go and pass a bill and study what sports betting would do for our state. So the bill that was filed, or the bill that was drafted, is probably just sitting there and, you know, could potentially be, you know, the groundwork for next year when they actually get it done. But Vermont has not shown much of an appetite, actually, or interest for having sports betting.
Well, Vermont doesn't even have casinos, so that's what shocked me when I saw. Did the bill actually kind of look like something like Tennessee has? I mean, no retail sports books, everything with their sports betting industry would be online. Is that what they're proposing?
Yeah, it would be an online only, and I'm actually just looking up my story because I'm like, I can't even remember because I've done so many other things this week. It would allow 6 mobile platforms. And it would, the lottery would run it, so they'd have to go through a bidding process, which is similar to the way that New Hampshire set up their law. And it would probably have a pretty high tax rate to go along with that.
Okay.
So I don't think that anything's going to happen in any time quickly. I mean, New Hampshire doesn't really have casinos. They have, I guess, some charitable casinos in the state. But the lottery there opened the bidding process and actually very transparent, moved pretty quickly, but they ended up only taking one platform, and that was DraftKings, in exchange for a high tax rate. So Vermont looks like it's going to mirror what New Hampshire did when and if they actually file the bill and take action on it.
So I want to get your opinion. We have Maine as the first state to legalize sports betting in 2022. Kansas just signed the sports betting. So what is the next state we should be looking for? What's your guess? If you had to place a bet on the next state to legalize sports betting, what would it be?
Well, I mean, in terms of what's going on right at this moment in time, it would be California because it's really the only one that's really active. There's a bill in Minnesota but it seems to have kind of not gotten past committee. I mean, it's gotten past committee and onto the House floor, but nobody's taking it up to vote on it. So I'm going to assume that they don't have the votes there to do what they have to do. There's still a sports betting bill, I think, in play in North Carolina, but if I'm being honest, that's not one of the states that I've been covering, so I don't know exactly what's going on, but that bill has been being bandied about in North Carolina for a couple of years. So, you know, if somebody makes a deal somewhere, that could move fast. And the only other state really in play, I guess, is Massachusetts, where sports betting has gone to a conference committee, which has about 2 or 3 months to sort out what sports betting would look like and bring it back to the House and Senate who can then decide whether or not they are going to move forward.
What is your guess about Massachusetts? I mean, like I said, I have an office up there. I've been to there's a was it Encore Boston Harbor? You know, you go to they have a WinBet sports bar. It's just a sports bar, but when you go in there, they have all the windows ready. If they pass it, they can probably have people behind there in no time flat. But it's shocking that they're taking so long. I mean, they're the corporate headquarters for DraftKings.
Yep, you sound like me. So
I was like, I'm standing in the middle of a casino. I'm looking at empty windows ready to be filled, and I'm just, what's taking so long?
It's a very good question. All signs point to the Senate President, Karen Spilka, not being a big fan of gambling in general, and slowing down the process. And it just is a state, much like Missouri, where the session closed either last night or this morning and they won't get it done, where there's no real opposition. There's just a lot of politics going on and people who don't agree with each other. And at the moment, the House and the Senate are still in very different places in terms of whether or not to allow betting on college sports, what the tax rate would be, and various other things. And until they can come to an agreement on that, it's not going to get passed. And then even if a bill comes out of conference, in theory, then it's supposed to run pretty smoothly through the legislature or the general court, as it were, in Massachusetts. But it's not clear that it will, because the lawmakers there just don't seem to agree at all on what they want. And Karen Spilka has been slow to bring up sports betting at all. So the fact that it's in conference committee is an exciting thing. My feeling is it went to conference committee to die. A lot of other people think that it still has a chance.
Jill, we're running out of time, but can you give people out a website where they can go and read your articles, and give out any social media address you want to give out so people can keep up with what you're doing?
Sure. The website is SportsHandle.com, and I don't have any social media whatsoever, but you can check out at SportsHandle.com.
Okay.
I'm sorry, at SportsHandle on Twitter. Now I have to look it up. Isn't that embarrassing? Where everybody on our staff tweets. And then once you're on the SportsHandle.com site, you'll see some bylines from Matt Rybeltowski, Chris Altruda, Bennett Conlin, and they all have their own Twitter accounts. Let's see. So there's at sports_handle.
Okay.
And that is our staff site. And then there's at US_bets, which is our sister site, US Bets. And then obviously you'll find various reporters who have their own social media.
Oh, great.
But I lay low there.
Jill Dorson from SportsHandle, USBets.com, and Better Collective, thanks so much for coming on and giving us an update about what's going on in the sports betting industry. I think incredible things are happening in California, Maine, and Vermont, and I know more news is going to come out of those states as well as other states. So I hope you come back on and keep us updated about what's going on in the sports betting world.
Well, sure. I appreciate you having me.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards.
People gotta win sometime.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a giant, colorful check to deposit.
Beat the House is brought to you by BetMGM Casino. Play your favorite casino games at BetMGM Online Casino. Slots, table games, live dealer games, everything you love about Atlantic City and Vegas, all online at BetMGM. Don't wait. Join in the fun now. Go to BetMGM Casino, create an account using our promo code Turnpike, and become a verified player. New players get $25 free when signing up, plus a first deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's promo code Turnpike at BetMGM.com for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $25 free. Grab a lion's share of the fun at BetMGM.com. Must be 21 years or older to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And welcome to this week's edition of Beating the House, where we're going to crisscross the country talking about the different jackpots that happen in the casinos. Going to start off in Las Vegas. Never had one from the D until today.
Really?
Never had a D jackpot.
We never had a D
nope. segment
on here, huh?
Never had the D. No.
The D. All right.
We have a massive slot jackpot that was hit at the
right.
D. Anonymous guest was playing IGT's Wheel of Fortune slot machine.
Okay. That's one of those slots that always hits. It seems like every time we do a slot, like big jackpot, Wheel of Fortune, chances are it's a Wheel of Fortune or a Monopoly or something like that.
Well, this one really hit.
It
$1.437 million.
1.43, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Almost 1.44.
So did they say how much money they put in?
No, they didn't say how much.
No, they didn't give it? Okay.
Not much information was handed out about the type of bet that was placed, but the amount of money that came out of that was a massive jackpot.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
That's actually almost even an understatement when you think about it. When we do Wheel of Fortune, usually we see 500,000, 600,000. We rarely see the 1.4 size.
I'm assuming with $1.4 million, I mean, the bells and whistles went off and the staff came around and things like that, huh? Yeah, okay.
I wonder, I'm assuming since the person wanted to remain anonymous, they didn't take a picture of them handing the novelty check.
Sure, I mean,
or do they say anonymous on the novelty check?
I get some of these comments. I see some of these comments on the Facebook pages of these casinos that post a picture of the winner and the big checks.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of comments are saying, oh, they don't look so happy. I guess they don't like their picture being taken and things like that. Or why is a casino taking their picture? Hey, everyone, the casino gets their permission to take the picture. The person isn't getting a picture taken without their, okay. It's just the staff doesn't run up, force them to take a picture.
I would hope not.
No, they don't. They don't. They don't. They ask permission, and if the person says no, they don't take the picture. So,
and
the comments are saying, "Oh, I can't believe the casino takes the picture of the winner."
And some people just don't smile in photos. There are some people that just don't smile in photos.
Just the thought that these people are forced to take a picture is crazy.
Yeah,
is crazy.
Well, again,
they're not forced to take a picture. They're asked. They give their permission, and the casino takes their picture. If they don't give their permission, the casino doesn't take their picture.
But I think I see what they're saying. If they're not smiling, some people don't smile in pictures. Some people may be worried about dropping the check.
Well, some people might be still in shock of winning $1.4 million.
Yes.
So
I'm pretty sure this guy. I didn't see a picture of this. I have to go look around at the D again, but I did not see a picture of this jackpot up on their social media.
But the whole idea is that a casino forces a winner to take a picture is ridiculous. So stop with the comments.
Moving on to the next jackpot.
Okay,
we're going to go to the other side of the country, Encore Boston Harbor.
Okay,
that
was a big month for Encore Boston.
Everything
for jackpots, they're
for the last couple of months. It's been huge for Encore. Encore Boston Harbor setting revenue records.
Yeah, they're breaking revenue records, and by the way, they're breaking state tax revenue records too. So the state of Massachusetts is very happy with Encore Boston Harbor.
They're doing extremely well in terms of tax revenue for the state. So I don't see the state of Massachusetts in any hurry to. Maybe that's affecting why they're not in any hurry to do sports betting. They're getting more and more revenue from the casinos.
Well, look, can you imagine Encore Boston Harbor? They have a beautiful, I guess it's Wynn Sports Bar now.
The WynnBET Sports Bar.
WynnBET Sports Bar.
Which is the online sports book for Wynn.
Yeah, but there's no sports betting in Massachusetts, but they're ready to go because I think we've said in past episodes, they have the windows already there. All they need is people to take bets. And I think once Massachusetts ever allows sports betting, they're almost ready from day one.
It's still one of the saddest things when you walk in there and you see those empty cages.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, it's hope.
Yes.
It's hope. You see this, and you know, it's possibly coming. It's probably coming, but you just don't know when sports betting will be hitting Massachusetts.
When you first see it, it's hope, but when you realize it's Massachusetts and they're not passing, it's hopelessness.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Let's get back to the jackpot. Okay. We have Tyler winning $695,000 on a 5-card Royal Flush playing Crazy for Poker. That's a table game.
Wow. What a variation of that.
What, Crazy for Poker? I actually got to take a look at this game because we have another jackpot from them earlier the same month here, earlier in May here. A $33,000 jackpot won by another player playing Crazy for Poker. This was a straight flush.
I actually have to take a look at this because I see the name that you have on the production notes. It's Crazy number 4 Poker.
Right.
Now, certainly it's Crazy for Poker, but there's a 4 there. Does that mean there are 4 cards being dealt? Okay, I got to check that out.
It has something to do with the actual number of cards, or actually maybe 4 of a kind wins more so than anything else.
That's what this segment does for me. You use Crazy for Poker. I'm going to jump online later today for the different casinos online in New Jersey and see if they have Crazy for Poker, just to see what it is.
I thought about putting the description of the game into the notes.
Okay.
But I figured if I do that, I'm not going to want to look at the game.
Okay. Well, I want to try and check it out.
And just to round out Encore Boston Harbor, our stay in Massachusetts, last month they also had a $49,000 jackpot playing the Dollar Storm slot machine.
That's a slot machine, okay.
The Dollar Storm is a slot machine. I've actually seen Dollar Storm in a lot of the Vegas and Nevada casinos.
Yeah.
Also, like Henderson and Reno have a lot of Dollar Storm.
Yeah.
But I've never really seen it on the East Coast too often. But they actually have this. It was the Dollar Storm in what they call the Loft.
Well, it used to be the big poker room.
The
they have poker.
Poker room.
They have poker now, but it's like 13 tables. So they still have poker. So,
but this is in the. Is it? I don't know if it's the high end slot. I don't know if they're high end up there in the Loft.
High limit slot or whatever. High roller slot
whatever
thing.
I don't know if that's what they have in the Loft. But
I got to tell you, Encore Boston Harbor is absolutely beautiful casino.
Yes.
I did a video of that one time a couple of weeks ago, and I put it on LinkedIn. And it was like it got like over 1,200 hits or something like that, 1,200 views.
Well, we're
going a beautiful casino.
We're going back across the country now.
All right,
back to Nevada. We have the Green Valley Ranch. Jill, a Las Vegas local, Las Vegas Valley resident. I got to get that straight. Won $115,000 drawing a 7-card straight flush on Pai Gow.
Wow.
To win the progressive jackpot. And she collected an extra $5,000 playing the fortune bonus side bet.
Yeah.
So she played the game straight with the side bet. The side bet didn't come in with the big money. The side bet just added $5,000.
I haven't played Pai Gow in a couple of weeks now.
You're slacking.
I know. I started with it because I just wanted to learn it. The greatest thing about the online casinos in New Jersey and anywhere really is you get to learn all of the games and it's cheap.
Yes.
You don't have the big limits. I mean, let me tell you something.
Don't I know. You do have them.
You can. I mean, you can, but you can actually play at a lower limit. Let me tell you something. Where you can't go into a casino and play 1-2 cent poker.
No, you can't.
You can do it online, and it's a great way to learn it. It's a great way to learn these games.
Those are called micro stakes.
Micro stakes. You can play micro stakes online. I mean, I'm bringing it up because if you're new to poker and things like that, go online and play. It's real money, but it's not crazy real money that you can learn at your own pace.
Well, we're now leaving Las Vegas and going to Henderson.
Okay.
The Klondike Sunset Casino. Unidentified local resident, they wish to remain anonymous.
Okay.
Won $108,000 playing the Dollar Storm Grand Progressive slot.
Dollar Storm, huh?
Same. That's 2 now. 2 this week.
Okay, 1 in Nevada and 1 in
Boston.
Massachusetts.
Yep,
okay.
1 in Boston.
Okay.
We have Henderson to Boston. So congratulations to the unidentified local.
Okay.
We're leaving Nevada completely. Now we're going to Iowa.
Iowa, huh?
Diamond Joe Casino.
I like that name.
I believe it's the home of one of the Betfred sportsbooks, too.
Oh, okay.
Diamond Joe said that a man named Shane from Osage won a jackpot of $53,000 on a $10 bet at 11 p.m. at night playing Aristocrats Dragon Link slot game.
Wow.
That's another one of those progressive ones it's like the Buffalo. This one's Dragon.
What a great headline that is. It's a uniquely Western, Midwestern kind of headline. Shane from Iowa wins money at Diamond Joe's.
Shane from Osage, Iowa.
So what? That's great.
Well, we're going to leave Iowa.
All right.
I didn't have much more to say about
No,
Iowa.
that's it. That's it.
Hey, Diamond Joe did their job.
Hey,
got the
congratulations, Iowa.
Yes. Going to Atlantic City.
All right.
Borgata. They had 2 jackpots, both on April 23rd, both of over $100,000. Actually, I should say both exactly $100,000.
Oh, wow.
This is the brick and mortar.
April 23rd, huh?
Yep.
Boy.
This is the brick and mortar, not the online site. First person won $100 per spin IGT WildStar Red, White, and Blue slot machine. Won $100,000.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's the same person, but it's 2 $100,000 jackpots. This other one came on the $25 IGT Jacks or Better video poker machine.
All right.
So 1 slot, 1 video poker.
Okay.
Both at Borgata, brick and mortar in Atlantic City. Let's go over to a little lottery win.
Lottery.
And I say little, sarcastically because a man named Osman from Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah, I heard this, yeah.
Won $7 million using the Jackpocket app, and he won the Cash for Life jackpot.
Wow.
So I don't know if he did the Cash for Life, but I guess it's, $1,000 a day for life. That's the way that's set up.
Or a week, or sometimes they're broken down to a week or a month or something like that.
I think it depends on how big the jackpot is, too.
Can you take the lump sum in that one?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if you're able to do that. But it's Cash for Life. You're supposed to get either a weekly or a daily sum.
So
depending on the state.
In all total,
New York.
this thing is worth $7 million to the winner.
$7 million.
Okay.
And he used Jackpocket.
Okay.
One of their biggest jackpots on Jackpocket that they have. We have a Caesar Sportsbook win from New York City, or New York State, online sportsbook. A sports bettor turned a $6.90 bet, a 16-team parlay.
16?
16.
Wow. In what? Was it across...
10 Major League Baseball games, 4 NHL games, and 2 NBA playoff games that happened that night.
Wow, good for him.
He went everywhere.
Wow.
$219,000.
Wow.
On a $6.90 bet.
Good for him.
Now I'm assuming
why
$6.90?
Well, see, I was thinking about this, and I always see these kind of bets that someone bet such and such money. You can do it the opposite. If you make a bet online anyway, and you want to win a certain amount of money, you put the amount you want to win, and it'll automatically put in how much you have to bet to win that amount of money.
Okay.
Because I don't know why someone would bet $6 and what was it? $6.15?
$6.90.
$6. Yeah. I wonder if he put in the amount he wants to win, and they tell you have to bet this much to win this amount. So.
Well, I've never done it that way.
No, I haven't. But
I guess
that's the only
that's
the only reasoning I have for someone betting $6.90, unless that was the last amount he had in his account,
that's what I'm
and he just
too.
bet
that's
the rest of his account.
Congratulations to all our winners. That's it for this week's Beat in the House. Please keep those press releases coming in, and we'll keep doing this segment.
Well, that'll do it for us this week. I'll see you next time on House of Cards.